to you and all the interesting thoughts, which I know more interesting thoughts are going to come up. And would you want me to talk about the symposium before you talk about yourself? However, whatever you more
Yes.
comfortable. I'll talk about
No,
it first. Okay,
yes.
perfect. So let me just talk about it. Of course, you see Michelle there, you see Michelle here, and this is Neutrality and Mediation, 12 to 16 December. So tomorrow is the last day. Ken Cloke gives the closing address on tomorrow. Bernie May give the keynote address. I just feel a little funny saying all this. Seems like it's like the repetition for me. I have to repeat it every time, but different people would be watching it. So it's basically the concept kind of comes from this statement of Desmond Tutu. If you're neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse and you say that you're neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality. But it's open to discussion. I mean, the idea is to just get all thoughts, whatever everyone feels. So that's one part, Michelle. The other is I have to put up the website. It seems to be something that you are familiar with the setup. So let me just put that up just to tell people that there is information available there. So a common kind of space to get some information about what's happening. But there's lots of now there are more than 475 videos now. Up till yesterday, I was saying 450. Now I checked, there are more than 475. So lots of information there. So how do you find out? So mediatorvikram.com. And of course, this is the last symposium, Philosophy and Mediation, where Michelle is also here. And connect on social media, send me a message, physical location. World Mediation Circle, definitely lots to discuss on that. Maybe we'll have a separate whole discussion series on the World Mediation Circle. But information is here. And then become a patron. That's first step to be part of the World Mediation Circle. The support, shows and events, how to keep in touch, and what's been happening, what's coming up. Coming up in the whole 2023, I'll put it up after tomorrow, the whole series of events. So Michelle, you have to be part of those events also. So I think that's about it. That's about it. Anything else that I need to tell people about? Of course, all the YouTube links and all are there of all the events. Then you can actually go here, click them. I think that's about it. Perfect. So Michelle, here onwards, it's you, your show. Take it as you want to. Bring us in if you want to. Totally yours. Please.
Okay. And please, no worries with Mandy chiming in if she wants to. I have no issues with that. Well, thank you, Vikram, for having me. My name is Michelle. I am the owner of a company called Change Starts with Hope. And we are a faith-based organization that assists people with mediation. I do restorative justice sessions. I work with people to advance their personal development growth, coping skills. And I'm also a professor. I teach interdisciplinary studies. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist as well as a mindfulness therapist. And uh, I'm an emotional scientist. How could I forget that one? That's like my favorite one because I love that one. And I have a couple of degrees and one being in mediation. I am a student at Pepperdine University. I went to their law school, so I have a degree in a master's in law, and I have a master's in alternative to dispute resolution. So that's pretty much it about me. I'm
That's quite a bit.
busy all over the place.
That's quite a bit,
It was
Michelle.
more stuff.
I haven't heard all this. Did you say all this last time? I don't remember you saying all this. That's a lot of stuff.
It's so much stuff you wouldn't believe. I'm doing stuff every day. I just got a contract to do eviction mediations. So I'm constantly moving. I'm just constantly moving, trying to do as many things as possible to help people to the best of my ability. So
But Michelle, are you getting time for yourself? Are you taking care of
yes,
yourself?
yes,
Perfect.
yes, yes.
The,
That's important, yeah,
the
because burnout is real.
exactly.
So, I try very hard to make sure that, I have my days and my times where I spend outside of work, and, I try to clear my mind from issues, because it can be quite overwhelming. But I take pleasure in this. This is what I feel like I was called to do. So it's more pleasure than pain for me. So I'm just glad that I'm able to even participate in stuff like this.
Yeah. The only thing I think you need time for yourself, because the subconscious mind needs to reflect on what all you're going through. So for that purpose, I think you need to just spend time with yourself, however it
Yeah,
is to be. I mean, that's everyone has their
yeah.
way. Everyone has their way. Yeah.
Oh, trust me, I get out. Well, I'm in Los Angeles. My son, my youngest son, who's out here with me, we have our days where we'll go out, and it's just like our time to spend. That's just to free your mind, to just have clear space and just have a good time. So people will see me post all of my pictures and stuff like that, just me having fun. But then I'm back to work.
And when are we
That's
going to get your son into the discussion?
I
Sometime.
should bring him in one day. He's very intellectual. I think that you would have a good time with him because he has so many different viewpoints, and I use him a lot just to get a perspective from the younger generation. Both of my kids. I have an older one who's in Baltimore, and one that is in Los Angeles with me. So hearing their perspectives is so enlightening for me. It's educational.
Okay. How old are they?
27 and 23.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
27 and
That's really nice. I think they have lots to teach us. Lots to teach us, definitely.
23.
Yeah. So, Michelle, neutrality and mediation, please.
Well, when the quote when you first said that quote, the Desmond Tutu quote, I stopped and I thought about the meaning, but it was in the heat of the moment. I agreed that neutrality is more harmful than good. And that I'm a mediator, and I definitely don't want to be the oppressor, at least in my mind. That's not my goal. But after I had time to think about the concept and I broke it down, and the context of the quote is only applicable in specific situations, and that's to me. So this is my breakdown of it. So the quote was, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse and you say you are, and you, if an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse and you say that you are neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality. First thing that came to mind was, what is injustice and how does being an oppressor fit in the description of a mediator or the act of mediation? So injustice is an act of unfairness. And as a mediator, I am a trained neutral, and being neutral permits me from displaying my own biases as I work towards being fair while bringing peace between the people participating in the mediation. I know that you like to call them participants. I was taught to say participants as well. So I know that you like that. So I made sure that I kept that in my mind to say participants. But being neutral means I do not verbalize my views or my opinions involved in the discussion of conflict during the mediation, but for a reason, and I'm going to get into that later. So an oppressor is a moral and political wrong. People who are oppressed are treated cruelly or are prevented from having the same opportunities, freedom, and benefits as others. An oppressor is defined as any authority, a group or person that uses its power unjustly to keep people under control. But if I'm a mediator and I display the characteristics of an oppressor, then I don't see myself as a true mediator. I wouldn't see anybody as a true mediator if they displayed those characteristics. A true mediator, to me, does not have the will to harm, but instead the powerful tool of resolving a conflict while encouraging peace. Also, to me, a mediator does not have the ability to control those participating in the mediation. Should I stop there and let you, okay.
No, we'll let you go. We'll let you go. We'll take it up at the end because
Okay.
I already have certain things that I want to
I
ask you.
love hearing your input. I put a lot of thought into everything. And I said, I have to make sure I'm organized and I have all of this in control in my mind, but a mediator is better defined, in my opinion, as a peace enforcer and keeper between individuals or groups that feel harmed or oppressed by the other, thus ensuing a conflict or dispute. Having the mediator as a neutral during the act of mediation does not mean injustice is being promoted, but instead inviting an opportunity to allow empathy, understanding, and self-reflection into the hearts of all participants. This is the process of resolution. And that's to me, okay? Also, if we could just analyze the meaning of neutrality in the quote of Desmond Tutu, he is specifically referring to or referencing injustice. So we have to consider the life of Desmond Tutu. He grew up poor. He was an anti-apartheid and spoke out against it. The apartheid occurred when the National Party, which came to power in South Africa in 1948, made apartheid or apartness a state policy with the ideology that people of different racial origins could not live together in equality and harmony. Apartheid is the state of being apart, devised by affluent white people to suppress poor Black people. In actuality, the system sprang from class warfare and was largely the creation of white workers struggling against both the Black majority and white capitalists. So I feel like that is where the quote came from. So Tutu's feelings about neutrality is warranted in situations of injustice, but I believe he was not referring specifically to the act of mediation. So I would consider the idea of having a mediator between the white workers and the Black majority, in that type of case. So, and if that mediator was silent during that time, I could understand reason as the mediator is supposed to bring the people together. The mediator's position is to help both understand the feelings and emotions of one another. And that does not mean the mediator is taking sides, because both can feel oppressed. They may feel oppressed. But I do get it. I understand the quote. It has it is valid in situations where one needs voices instead of silence. As a Black woman, injustice surrounds me on a daily basis. Black women are often treated as the mouse, but we are looked at as being as strong as an elephant. The silence against the Black woman is fear, the fear of the strength of a Black woman. That's how I walk and think about when I'm working as a mediator. I put myself in the shoes of people, and I understand that I'm not speaking out. I'm not being neutral and not speaking out. My silence is going to be very loud as I'm bringing people together. So just recently for me, I experienced a situation that one could label it as a conflict while I was working as a chair. I didn't tell you this part of one of the positions I formerly had, but I was working as a chair of a work group formed by the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee for the Baltimore City Mayor's Office. The situation grew into a conflict after I presented my work group with an initiative that would promote healing within the marginalized communities of Baltimore City. I was the person speaking out and to get the elephant off of the neck of the mouse, so to speak. An attorney that works in the state's attorney's office, and she was also a part of my work group. She attacked me. She attacked my education. She attacked my motive, my authenticity, and my character. This woman was a white, older woman, and her attacks towards me was in writing to the entire work group. This was a perfect time for someone to speak out and not be neutral. But no one said anything. So after no one stood up for me or for what was fair, I knew this group's moral compass did not point in the same direction as mine. And so I resigned from that position as chair, but not from my position as an advocate. Who was the elephant and who was the mouse? So a week later, the director of CJCC contacted me to discuss the conflict, and how ironic, she's a mediator. And I reluctantly agreed. After they broke 2 appointments with me by her office, I decided I don't even want to engage anymore, because again, who is the elephant and who is the mouse in this type of situation? The group members did not speak up for justice and fair treatment, and the mediator, who is the director of the CJCC, did not fulfill her role. That right there, there was no neutrality in that. She took the side of the other people. Had she been neutral, she could have heard all sides, and her role would have been fulfilled. There was absence and there was silence. And for me, the mouse was not singular, it's plural, because it involves the marginalized community members of Baltimore City. They are the ones that are being oppressed by people picked to solve issues, but not for the right reasons. Like I told the state's attorney, who verbally attacked me, crime is needed so you can eat. I want to stop crime so I can sleep. It's a difference. Situations like this is what Desmond Tutu was referencing, in my humble opinion. I'm not the elephant and I'm not the mouse. I'm the neutral. I'm the voice of the peace. I'm a voice of peace and influencer of justice. I'm the skip in one's heartbeat as they stop and think about their actions. I'm the flashlight to one's vision as they reflect on their behaviors that caused harm to another. That is what neutrality is to me, and that is what I displayed as a mediator. Have I entered mediations with an opinion of who is right and who is wrong? Yes. But who am I to discount the actions of someone or a group without giving them an opportunity to speak their side? Being a neutral lets me seek the why of the actions with the goal of mindset change, instead of judging their actions with an outcome of rage. Being a neutral as a mediator is an action. And there's a song, it's named Any Road by George Harrison. And I love it when the song says this part: if you don't know where you are going, any road will get you there. Mediators should have the goal to walk the road of neutrality, because emotions can take the mediation on many different roads and ultimately at a dead end. Mediators being neutral allow its participants to be vulnerable and open up without force. It shows a person who they are and how they can be better, because a lack of neutrality can attack. Because a lack of neutrality can attack one's values and beliefs, and that can be detrimental to conflict resolution. I have said time and time again, once neutrality leaves, one is triggered. I have been a mediator during restorative justice sessions. And sure, I've had opinions and I've had my own biases, but if I was not neutral, I am not helping the person who is the mouse. That's the one that is oppressed. This is when emotions take over the goal and can lead one down the dead end road. If I want to change the mindset of the oppressor, I have to be able to be neutral and listen, let the oppressor explain their point of view, and then we can work towards fairness to the mouse or the mice, because I still believe it can be more than one. Neutrality in mediation is the power of being strategic in conflict resolution. For me, it is not a weakness, it is a strength. I look at neutrality as a guide. So that's my piece.
But Michelle, I don't know whether you read, there's the fine print on participation in the symposium. I don't know whether you read that. It said, if you quote a song, you have to sing it. Did you read that, or you did not read it?
I dare not. I dare not.
I'm sorry, you've done it. You should have read the fine print before quoting it. I mean, I can't do anything about it now.
I didn't see that fine print, but in law, just because I didn't see it doesn't mean it wasn't there. So
you got to sing it. So you got to sing it, is it?
So I'm not going to sing it.
But I think, Michelle, what you have to start with is that what is neutral, what is neutrality. I think maybe we have to talk about that. I think but that
Yeah.
has got left out. We've been using that word, and on the other end, you're going to tell us what is mediation, because I think that also different people have different maybe thoughts on mediation. Do you think?
Yeah, I think Gilbert had a question.
No, no, he's a clap. That he's clapping for you.
Oh, he went like this.
So, so we'll get them in. We'll get them in. They'll all definitely come in because we have time also. There's not a
He is
problem.
trying to,
Can I
he is trying
speak?
to,
Yeah, yeah, Gilbert, please.
Sorry, I I was listening, but I just got a call. I have to take care about my grandchildren, so I have to leave you. But Michelle, what I wanted to say, I really listened to what you have been saying. It's very interesting for me. I will go back to the video record and listen again. And maybe I give you a little reflection on this by writing to you, but I have to leave now. Excuse me. Okay.
Okay, Gilbert, thank you for coming in. Interesting
thank you.
session. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
So Michelle, you have to throw light on the word neutral, neutrality, mediation, however you understand mediation, because what I understood is that people understand mediation itself differently, what and the role of the mediator differently. So I think maybe we need to also expand on these elements first to get into the actual topic, maybe.
Yeah, for me, mediation or a mediator, mediation is the verb. And so as a mediator, my job or my goal is to resolve conflict and or prevent future conflicts. So when I am a neutral, if I am a listener, and it doesn't mean that, for example, from Desmond Tutu's quote, it doesn't mean that I am being silent to agree with either side. I'm not agreeing with either side. Instead, I'm listening to both sides with the goal of letting both sides learn and understand one another, but also with the goal of changing the mindset. I could walk into a mediation as a neutral and I can already say to myself, this is not right. It's just, that's how it is. We have our own cultures and our own moral compass, and it can guide me, and I could say to myself that this isn't right, but that does not mean that the opposite person or the participants believe that what they're doing is wrong. So in order for me to help, and I have to be neutral, because otherwise, if I say, this is wrong, you're not right, I'm aggressive, and they're not going to hear it. It's just, I just don't believe that that's the way to solve any issues, any problems, and like I said, coming from me, from the different experiences that I have personally and professionally, I've never experienced a situation where not being a neutral was beneficial to either party. And that could be, it's times where both parties were wrong. But if I'm not neutral, then I'm not able to let both parties see where they're wrong. I have to be, it's a guide. It's not an attack, it's a guide. And I'm not silent. So I'm not the one watching anybody with their foot on the neck. I'm not looking and applauding the elephant, and I'm not, downing the mouse. I am supporting both.
So I think what we do is, do you think we should go into the dictionary meaning of neutral and neutrality? What do you
Yeah.
want to do? Let's go into that. Let's look at what neutral. Let's see what being neutral is. But this says not supporting or helping either side. So what do you say to that?
Not supporting or helping either side in conflict. Remove the word helping. And this is unfortunate that this is Oxford's dictionary, having no strongly marked or positive characteristics or features, an impartial or unbiased state or person. So for me, okay, so that's as an adjective. So as a noun, that would be the mediator, an impartial or an unbiased state or person. That to me is what a mediator is, the noun version.
But the impartial, you're okay with impartial. That's the point.
or unbiased.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So because impartial is something that keeps getting discussed because of the
I've noticed
omnipartiality. Yeah. So that
you know,
gets
and I think that is something that's highly discussed because I think that a lot of people are getting that term during their training. You know, but if you look at the similar words, it's impartial, unbiased, unprejudiced, you know, objective. So those are they're not all negative things. I think we would have to add in when you're talking about the job of a mediator, you don't want to be biased. You don't want to be prejudiced. You know, it's you don't want to be offensive. These are things that I think that we want. Now, the not supporting or helping either side in a conflict or disagreement as an adjective, I would have to think about that more because it's an adjective, you know, and I'm looking at neutrality as a mediator, as the noun. So, and I agree with, you know.
Want to go to neutrality? Should we open neutrality? Well, that's why we need to do that, because I mean, this is something I'm just thinking right now that we never really got into the definitions too much. But let's just what neutrality. I mean, the same thing. See, neutrality, same concept. Because why I was
So
asking you? Yeah, yeah, please.
and so even think about, would you pull up the definition of a mediator?
That's exactly what I was getting to. That mediator,
Okay.
mediation, both we have to get into.
Okay.
So, but I would rather you tell me what you think, because the thing is that when you open a dictionary meaning of mediator, let's open it. Let's open it. I mean, I'm not saying we should open it.
I could tell you what I have been taught and what I believe thus after my education. So I never had the dictionary of mediator, you know, pulled out in front of me, but we did discuss the role of a mediator, of course. So a mediator is a noun, a person who attempts to make people involved in a conflict come to an agreement. Yes.
But I'll tell you what, the definition of mediation that I picked up, which I put on my website also, is what the Singapore Convention. I mean, Singapore Convention has not been signed by all countries, but a large number of countries have signed it. But only reason for putting that up is because at least so many countries have, in principle, agreed to a certain definition. They might not have ratified the convention. It was just a common thing. So, you want me to put that up? Do you think we can look at that definition? Because it's important is because there is a certain word in that which we need to, I think, discuss, because is it something which goes against the fact of when you say neutral and what the definition talks about. I'm taking this definition because, like I said, in terms of some acceptable definition around the world, this is the only thing. Otherwise, everyone will have their definition. So this is what it says. A process irrespective of the expression used. So you can call it whatever. You can call it by whatever name. It doesn't matter. Okay, so it could be conciliation, mediation, Michel process, Mandy process. It doesn't matter. Irrespective of the expression used or the basis on which the process is carried out. So it could be transformative, facilitative, evaluative, narrative. It doesn't matter how it is done. Perfect. Okay. Mm-hmm. Whereby parties attempt to reach an amicable settlement of the dispute with the assistance. We'll come to this. This word we'll have to discuss. Assistance of a third person or persons. Important thing being lacking the authority to impose a solution upon them. That's the important keyword. Everything else doesn't matter. The word, what you use for the process, the word, how you do the process doesn't matter. Main thing is the person should not have the authority to impose a solution and should be assisting. Because I was wanting to get into this, that you have assistance on this side, and then let's look at what neutrality told us. Let's just look at that.
But you go back, you said you have written that's from the Singapore Convention. That's their definition, right?
Yeah, Singapore Convention is actually a convention on settlement agreements in relation to international commercial mediations. So
is it possible that the Singapore Convention's definition is based off of their culture, you know, so it may be,
No, 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 no. Let me
may have
correct.
words
No,
different.
no, I'm correct you on that. Singapore Convention is just called Singapore Convention only because it was opened for signature in Singapore. All these it's a UN convention. So UN conventions, wherever they're opened for signature, the name of that country is what for
It's the place that's
for
holding it.
for normal usage it becomes bad. But let me put the actual entire what is the Singapore Convention. It has a very long name, so I will put that up for you because that's the actual name of the convention. But to
Mhm.
for reference sake, it becomes that this is what it is. This is the actual convention. So this is what the
Okay.
convention is. It's also known as this. So the convention basically, I'm saying that this actually, like I said, is for international commercial mediation. So settlement agreements which are signed in relation to international commercial mediations can then be enforced in countries where that convention has been ratified. So that's the only, I mean, in relation to
Right.
the
I brought that up because, you know, through I've done different continuing education uh, um, courses that focused on cross-cultural understanding of mediation. So that's why I brought it up, is it because the differences in the language or the meaning, it can vary. So I wanted to be sure that that terminology was specific for that culture versus something that I may be taught, for example, in the United States. That's why I question.
no, yeah, no, Bishop, the thing is that United States has also signed that convention. So
Yeah,
United States has
that's what
signed
I'm
it,
trying.
India has signed it. A lot of, I think about now, I think for 56 countries, I think have signed it. Like, I don't quote me on the number, but I think it's about 50 something countries have signed it. The idea being that, look, the thing is that everyone understands mediation differently. So if we have to come to a common understanding of it, I just picked that up, but you can take whatever your understanding of mediation is. I use that because I find it nice and broad, and otherwise people then look at mediation in a very specific part. And the same thing with you can look at it the way you want to. I mean, I was just putting it out for you just to say this is what I do. But
No. I think that we look at it from different perspectives based off of our teachings and our experiences, you know, and that's fine. But all in all, I think that we all come together with really the same mindset of peacekeepers, you know. So I just, sometimes the verbiage can differ, but I try to be sure to understand, regardless of what the area is. I want to be able to be culturally knowledgeable regardless, you know. So that's why I ask the questions.
because why I was wanting to get to that is because we say mediation is assistance. And then when you come to neutrality, we say not helping anyone. So how do you
So
assist? Are you assisting them by not helping them?
yeah, how do you how am I assisting if the definition is reading to not assist? So and I don't want to say it, you know, playing it's semantics with words or whatever, but um the noun version was unbiased. So if I'm unbiased, you know, if you pull up the definition for unbiased, that means that I am neutral. I'm not taking either side. I am remaining balanced. I put it like this. I look at neutrality almost as a balance. And so if I'm not able to listen to both sides, you know, we have side A and side B. And if I put myself more onto side A, I'm not going to hear side B because they're going to be more reluctant to speak to me. You spoke earlier, or one of your symposiums, same topic, but someone brought up trust. And if I am not able to be neutral and be unbiased, then, you know, no one is going to be able to trust me, let alone, well, I not so much trust me, but trust the process of mediation. And I think that with mediation, it's not, I don't walk into it with the belief that a person is going to out and out trust me just because I'm telling them, you know, I'm the mediator and I'm neutral. You know, you come in with your opening statement, you know, and all of that stuff. You know, it just sounds artificial. However, if I come in, you know, with the understanding that I'm meeting both people both groups, whatever, the participants are at where they are, then I'm working with them, and I'm not against them, whether they're right or wrong. I'm still working with them, because if they're wrong, I want to work towards changing their mindset into being right. And I think that being neutral, helping though, not the adjective, the noun, according to the definition, I'm unbiased, and I am being helpful. So if we take away the semantics with the word according to the adjective part of the definition and the noun part of the definition, I think that there could be an understanding that neutrality is not meant to be offensive.
Because I'm not even going into the similar part of, because similar then becomes another whole discussion.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I'll stick there. But I think
And-
that trust, yeah. You're saying
Yeah.
something. I cut you off.
No, I was just saying, yes, I was agreeing with you.
Because I think this trust aspect that came up, it's an important thing that you said, because this trust thing came up in a lot of discussions. So basically what we were getting at, and the discussions that came up, was that when there is trust, you start with trust. And then after that, all this will not matter, because there is trust. And this is where the whole discussion around whom do you trust? And I mean, these are participants who themselves will gauge whom they trust. So once they've got this person whom they trust, will they be looking at all these things, and where do they come into that whole perception of the mediator and mediation? So we were just trying to get into that, because the one side, what has happened over time, of course, this formal concept of mediation, where then either a mediation is given, the mediator is given to you by in certain systems, in the court systems and all, or you are picking up someone, an external person, maybe through a list of people. I don't know, however people are going to do it. So in that case, how does that, then you are developing trust as you go along? And I'm looking at it from the larger thing that I am trying to promote, which is at the grassroots level in communities and all, there are trusted people. And with those trusted people, do these issues come up, or should they come up? I'm just a discussion. I'm not saying that I'm taking the discussion in that direction, but on a broad level.
When I'm working within communities and I'm talking to these people that are that feel like they're being oppressed, I think that they're looking for me to help. And they're also looking for me to solve the problem of the oppressor. I'm just going to use that terminology, for conversation's sake. They're seeking the oppressor ability to understand what they're doing to them. So when I'm talking to the community members who are obviously, in this type of scenario, the mouse, it's not necessarily a thing where they're walking in, or I'm walking into the situation where they trust me. Because again, I'm not looking for them to trust me immediately, because once someone hears we have a mediator coming through, a mediator is going to work with you, I notice that people, they can be defensive, and they look at the mediator as someone that the government has put in, and it's just, it's automatically not a welcoming, situation. And then you come in with your script, your orientation of what mediation is. And that's great that you're introducing what mediation is to these people, but that still doesn't make them trust you. I want them to trust the process, and the process involves me listening to both, because the process is the most important part. I'm not the most important part. The process is between the two people understanding both sides. That's how I look at it.
And I look at it as, Michelle, you're the most important person. That's how I look at it. Process will come around it. That's how I look at it. This is where, no, I tell you, Greg, his session, he had this little one slide that he put up. The mediator is mediation. That's what he said there.
The people are the mediation, because without them, without the conflict, it's nothing for me to do. I am just the guide. I'm just that flashlight showing them this is what the problem is. You know, I'm bringing things to the forefront where they could see, okay, well, maybe this makes sense. This doesn't make sense. I want them to see where change can occur. I don't feel like I'm the most important part of the situation.
Well, let's look at it this way. If you were not there, they were not getting anywhere, right? It is your
Right.
presence which does it. Now, the presence, one is, we were, of course, talking about, the one is the presence of a certain person. So it's not even saying something, it's just the presence. So first we have to look at presence, which kind of comes in from my symposium on heart, soul, spirituality, and the energy that a mediator brings in and all those kinds of things. So one is just the presence. Then you move into other aspects of how the mediator conducts the process. And then, like I said, if it starts with trust, then, because these are people who do not know anything about the process, they have no idea.
Yeah.
You said, oh, okay, we are going in for mediation and this is your mediator. These are just words we are using. What do they understand from
Yeah.
those words? So if there is only, I think, I mean, we are looking at it that way, but if there is only, if there's trust, they're taking the whole process through the trust that they have in that individual, and then they're being taken through the process, instead of us saying that they know about the process and what all has to happen in the process. And that is where neutrality is one aspect of the process. We are putting things into their mind which they have no idea about, and how will they, the user, even understand these things? I mean, we are debating it, but for a user, finally it's about the user.
Do you think that not telling them that I'm a neutral is beneficial? Because you also mentioned my energy, well, not my energy, but the energy of a mediator, and I think that was, you know, very critical to the participants. If I come in with aggressive energy, although I hate the word of aggressive, but just energy that is, you know, not settling with either participant, they're not going to trust, you know, the process. You know, I've seen attorneys, they'll go into a mediation and they're so stiff, you know, and they just have that, you know, that stigma of what an attorney is. You know, it's crazy how attorneys are mediators now, you know, and I love it when I'm able to see an attorney relax and just be a mediator without that attorney demeanor. And that's more welcoming, you know, to me. But if I walk in with the energy of not being a neutral, let's just say, for example, but I do not say that I'm a neutral, I'm not going to get them to open up. I have to have that positive energy, and I have to let them know that I'm here to listen to both sides. I don't want to call it a referee. I call myself a guide. I'm not a referee. You know, it's not a boxing match. It's not a basketball game. You know, so that's not to me what a mediator is. I look at myself as a guide that leads them towards conflict resolution.
No, yeah, because I'm just saying that, look, these words, when you use for to tell participants that, I don't even know whether they even understand what you're talking about. I don't even know whether it's just these, okay, you have to go through this process and you have to tell them what you have to tell them. But beyond that, just the fact that I mean, they have to listen to you saying that, but do they really know what's going to be there? I don't think so. I think it's finally, like I said, it starts with the trust, and then how the process unfolds with the trust that you have with the guide, like you said. Finally, I mean, I don't know what analogy to make with the guide and what word we can use for the guide, because neutrality is, I mean, in that sense, is there some analogy you can get there from a guide perspective? Something that, like, supposing you
It
have a
has to be
guide.
another word. Yeah, we need another word to perhaps replace neutrality that more that leads towards being a guide.
Yeah.
And I have to think about that. And when I come up with the nice word, I'm going to send you a message.
No, we'll do it now. Now Mesha is going to happen. Everything's going to happen now. But look at it like, okay, like look at it now. Don't look at it as a mediation, but as a guide, in general, as a guide. Think of say, maybe your children. There is a group of children that you're taking, and you're a guide for them. Let's just look at that. Take an analogy there. Let's work there. And what word are we going to tell them, and how are we going to explain to them what you're going to be doing? It's just a exercise.
It would be a word. It would be help. It would be assist. I would say things like work with you. It wouldn't just be that one word. I probably would just focus on guide. If honestly, I don't want to, find similar words to guide, because I think that word is most appropriate.
No, perfect. I think no, you're a guide. You're the guide. That's perfect. You're the guide. Now to
I think that
explain to these people, these children that you're taking out, and you're a guide for them. Let's look at it as a tour guide. Okay, whatever. So
a
now
peace
you're
guide.
whatever. So you're say a tour guide, and in from the tour guides, in terms of the tour guide explaining to these children as to what your role is going to be in the whole activity of that tour. What would you do? What would you say? What are you going to be doing for them?
I dare not begin my taught opening statement on you right now. I think that I would introduce myself as their guide, and normally, if depending upon if you're saying we're dealing with children, I make sure that appearance-wise, I think that that's important for comfort. A lot of times, if I'm in the communities or if I'm working with children, I bring myself down. I'll put on a hat, I'll put on my shirt or whatever. I bring myself down because that can be intimidating. It has an authoritative type of look, and it can be frightening, I've noticed. I don't do that all the time. It just depends on the situation. I will play it by ear, but because people look at you first and listen to you second. So then, of course, I would let them know that I'm there to listen and assist with whatever conflicts that they have going on. I want to help them understand both sides. I think that when you let a person know that you want them to understand the opposite side, that I'm opening the door for empathy. And I just think that that's the most important part. And that to me is also a part of neutrality. I have to stick by it because I deep in my heart and my core believe it.
Look, I tell you why I was moving away from conflict or any of those things. I'm looking at, like I said, a tour guide or a hike. Oh, so you're going for a hike and you've got these children, you're taking them for a hike, and you say, I'm going to be your guide. And then you tell them, I'm not going to help any of you. How will they look at that whole thing?
Then you're not a tour guide, or you're not a hike guide. I wouldn't say that, but I would, let me correct myself. Yes, I would. I would say that, I would, you can do it, come on up. It would be a thing where I'm teaching you, I'll show you, and then I'll show you through my actions, and I can talk you through it with my words. And then my expectation is for you to try. But trust and believe, if you fall, I'm there to catch you. That's where the assistance comes in. You can't learn from me doing it for you.
That's a very good point you made. So if you fall, I'm there to help you. Now, only one of them might fall. You will help that person, but you're not going to say,
100%.
oh, I have to behave in the same manner to everyone. That person hasn't fallen. I haven't helped them, so I should not help this person. I mean, that's the kind of discussion people have in relation to neutrality. But this is exactly what he says. Some person might fall and you will pick them up. It doesn't mean everyone has to fall for you to pick everyone up. But the one that you have to, you help that. The other one doesn't need that help. So you're not helping them. So these are I'm just trying to create an analogy there because you said guide, and let's work from the guide perspective. And
you know what, this just came in my mind. Have you ever, do you have children?
I have a child. Yeah, I have a daughter. No.
So you have, okay. So if you had two, then
exactly. So I clarify.
Okay, so and I'm sure my mom could understand because it's four of us. And I remember times where I would see her doing something for one, and she would not do it for me, whether I needed the help or not. And I remember saying, but you did it for such and such, and you didn't do it for me. And her response is, but you didn't need the help.
Exactly.
So we're all going to need help at different times in different situations where that one kid needed the help, me pulling them up. The other kid may need my help talking them through it a little bit more. So I think the help can look different for each person.
Absolutely. This is, you got another analogy that you brought in, which I keep talking about, the mother, and the fact that how the mother, how, first of all, let's look at it from the trust. Trust in the mother is
Yeah.
there. So that you start with that trust. And after that, yes, you did question her. Yes, you did question her, but this trust continued. And of course, why she did that, she told you why she did that, and you understood, and that was it. But the fact that the action that she was taking, it was based on her understanding of it. Now, did you need to understand that? Did you need to? You asked, but even if you're not asked, you could have gone with it because the trust was there, and you would have finally, I mean, looked at it and said, yes, she must be doing it for some reason. And that's where trust comes in.
Correct, but the question came in because I challenged her neutrality. You know, so if I challenged her neutrality, why did you help her instead? And you didn't help me, as if I needed help, you know, but I wanted her to step in and maybe say something. I'm sorry, not say something, do something, grab my hand and hold me. So if we compare this to mediations, what I've done in order to make both people feel like I'm listening and hearing them equally, I'll say something. I'll notice that if I say one thing to one participant, in my mind I'm like, okay, the other person is going to think that I'm taking the side of the other. So then to balance it out, I'll say something, you know, I'll wait and I'll let the other person talk, and then I'll say something a little similar, just so they'll feel like, okay, she did it to this person, so, or she said it to this person, so and she said it to me also. It's almost like it's, I don't want to call it a game because it's not. Conflict is not a game, but it's as I work towards you feeling, both people feeling like I'm treating everybody the same.
But
Maybe
Michelle, the
it's
problem, Michelle, the problem that comes up there is that at every moment, because look, mediation is, it's a very dynamic process. It's flowing from the moment to moment. In your mind, if you have this aspect that, am I being looked at or perceived as being unfair, or whatever, I mean, whatever feelings that you might think that they have, so you're not really going with the process, you're not flowing with it, you are actually questioning each action of yours, or even thinking so much about your action as to what I should do. Will you be fair to the process? Because I just feel,
no, it's not questioning my process or am I being fair. It's making sure the other person feels like I'm being fair. So I'm using empathy. I'm putting myself in their shoes in order to make both participants feel comfortable. I don't question me because I'm comfortable in my skill.
no, I'm just thinking that the fact that, I mean, we would also, I think we're talking about this thing that, building trust. I mean, to spoke about building trust. So you're building trust. I'm saying that every point of time that you think that you have to do something to build trust, your whole, I mean, whole thought process is on something else, which is goes away from that moment that you are actually in a particular direction. Something is flowing, and it's flowing in every moment, every little word, every little gesture, everything. I mean, it's flowing in a very dynamic way. In that particular time, to say that I, to build trust, I should do this. So what, that one moment that you take to think about that, I don't know. I'm just looking at it from the process perspective. Are you moving away from the process and instead building your own credibility to be, if it has to start with that trust part of it, and then everything else, people might question your action, whether they, you said that you questioned your mother's neutrality. I don't know whether you questioned her neutrality, or, I mean, of course we're not talking about neutrality there, but did you question that aspect, or you just questioned an action and she explained that action to you and you understood and you moved on? So that each
Right.
action, if someone wants to understand as to why you did that, they can question that. But the fact that you are, your whole credibility is being questioned just because someone asked you, why did you look at that person and not look at me? So you just explained. I mean, you could explain, I looked at that person at that time because obviously I was having a conversation with that person. whatever. I
Right.
mean, I'm just saying, give you an
Yeah,
example.
I got you. I totally understand it, but I think that that makes sense, and as does, me questioning my mom, that makes sense. But when I'm dealing with adults and they question, I feel like, and I have not had this happen a lot of times. I've witnessed it, but I think that they're not at that point. Once someone questions the mediator, I think that it's almost their comfort level becomes compromised, and I think the process of trust becomes compromised, and the mediator needs to do a lot of work to regain that trust, because now the person, and that's why I say, and I'm going to stick by it, that neutrality is important, because once the one party feels as though neutrality is compromised, they don't have trust in the mediator, they don't have trust in the process. And if they don't have trust in the mediator and in the process, then how can I successfully be the guide that I want to be, in assisting with the conflict?
Do you think maybe mediators start taking it a little too personally? But the fact is that action, like I said, an action of yours is questioned. Don't take it personally that your trust is gone. Your trust is still there. They're trying to understand because it's a new process for them. They don't even know what really is happening here. So they're
Some
asking you something as to why you're doing this. Because I'll tell you, sometimes you feel that they know everything about the process. And of course, they've understood how it has to happen. And with your taking a certain action, the way you deal with some person, oh, they might be looking at it in a certain way because you have some experience in the process and you think, oh, someone did look at it this way. I think we maybe thinking too much for the participants, while the participants themselves might not be thinking so much about it.
No, I think that what I've been taught to do is to evaluate all of the different perspectives, in order for me to be empathetic to everybody. So no, every time a person questions me, that doesn't mean that they don't trust me. Like you said, they are ignorant to the process. They may ask, well, why did you do this and you didn't do it? And I'll say, I'm getting to that. It's different things. It'll be a conflict, with who goes first, who speaks first, in mediation. So it's a chore, just pointing out and deciding, letting them know, this is what we'll do as far as who goes first. But that's not me questioning myself. That's me analyzing all of the different perspectives in order for me to treat each person as an individual and let them understand, or help them understand the process.
Because Gilbert, actually, just before that session, he was talking about this aspect that I am talking to this person first should not make a difference. So he says, I sometimes ask them to agree between themselves as to who I should talk to first.
Yes, exactly. I'll say, who wants to go first? And then sometimes they'll sit there and they'll just be like, and I'm like, okay. And then you have to initiate. But then if I say, well, Mandy, you go first, and I dare not say, ladies first, because you cannot, you cannot say that. Then I'm going to offend someone. So I feel people out. But I think the one thing that you said that was very important is the energy. I test the waters. I'm looking at the body language. I'm watching everything. But in turn, they're watching me, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Mandy she's really into this.
That's like opening the floodgates to comments. Holding it back as much as I can. Well, I told you now what happens with Mandy. She gets a little she goes. One thing I think she feels is that, look, people don't understand what I'm saying. So she takes 5 minutes to put something up. Although if she had just said it, the other person would have understood and they would have gone on. But she wants to make sure. So that's why it's a bit of an issue there, which not for her also. A lot of people, they do not come, like with Ken, I sometimes opened it up for someone to ask him something. And you find out that to ask something, they go through 5 minutes where he, in one word, would have understood what you're talking about. He has that much of experience. You don't have to tell him all those. Yeah. You don't have to give him that 5-minute introduction. He knows what you're talking about. Come to the point, give him that one word you want to know, and he'll give you the answer. So this is what people don't understand. Same thing with you. Whatever she wants to say, she says it in one sentence, one little sentence. You'll understand what she's talking about. But the 5-minute introduction to come there, we don't have that much time. Also, right? I mean, everyone is, there's a limitation
So
of these
no
sessions.
leading up. It's just let's hit it. We're not just tapping the nail. We want to just straight hit and just get to it.
Because I tell you, the advantage is that if you come to the point, you to give that one word or 4 words or 5 words that you want to ask. If the person doesn't understand, you always have the option of explaining your question to them. It's easy to do that later. But if you've already understood, and of course, you can take it into a different direction. And if the person, maybe it's a new thing for them, but otherwise, if they give you a certain direction with that 5-minute introduction, then you're not getting new thoughts. It's ultimately what I've seen is people just want to, in some way, they've already thought it within themselves. They're just trying to match the answer with you. Are you giving the same answer? They may be making sure that you give the same answer that they have in their mind, and then the learning process stops. The idea is to learn. I mean, it's that Michelle tell us about it. We're open to understand. It's something that we are thinking about. It's not I want to make sure that Michelle says what I want her to say, which is sometimes what happens in these.
No, you're good, because I already know that I'm not saying what you want me to say, and you may not say something that I want, that I agree with, but that's good dialogue. And that's how I learn. That's how, the listeners learn. And that makes all of us into better mediators, as far as I'm concerned. So whatever I can learn from your words, your takeaway on things, that's just making me into something greater. Say it to me, Michelle, no, I don't agree. And you explain it. And then, I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to challenge it, to myself, and then that way I could come to a conclusion. When you told me the Desmond Tutu's quote, our last session, you'll not believe that in my apology and forgiveness class, we did a whole module on Desmond Tutu. And I'm like, did he have my module, ahead of time? Like, why did he do this to me? And so then when I spoke about it in class, everyone was like, and we were talking about the Rwanda genocide, so that's how I was able to really, decipher through the meaning of it and understand where he was coming from, because the context can be used differently from you, from Mandy, and from me. In my perspective, I used it from a Black woman's perspective. I looked at where he was coming from, and then I said, okay, what does this mean to me? Because for me, my culture, it's going to mean something different than it does to the both of you. And so that's where I wanted to go with it, with my understanding. And I wanted to be sure that I'm correct for me, but I wanted to be sure that I listened to you to understand your perspective from your culture and your understandings, because that's just going to make it so that the quote, it can be tweaked and fixed to agree with both of us. So we could take out the word injustices and put in another word. I think that regardless of what the case may be, he's saying to speak up and not allow people to be treated unfairly. And I agree with that totally. But the manner in which we can get to recognizing the unfair treatment and letting both participants understand that is where the imbalance, I think, lies. And that's what, for me, is neutrality. But for you, it's another word. So
well, I have no words. I'm just here to create this discussion, to have that discussion. I
want to know what Mandy's word is.
Mandy's going to come in. Mandy's going to come in. Before that, but look, you said that this is in relation to what Desmond Tutu's situation was, in what situation he was talking about. But I'm saying if you look at various other situations, look at even commercial matters. In a commercial matter, a large corporation and a small little supplier to that corporation. But the way mediation has been, the way it's gone through the court system and everything, the only thing that you tell the small guy is going to cost you so much, it's going to take so much time. and this person can handle it, this large corporation can handle it, you can't, so why don't you settle? That's a lot of people do that. So in that sense, what have you really done? I mean, you really haven't looked at it. I mean, I'm looking at mediation differently. So if you can bring in a different aspect to the mediation where you can actually look at the big corporation being able to understand things in a different way, and it just doesn't become a settlement. Okay, this one, you have this kind of a thing hanging on your head, so settle. And then what are you really doing? Mediation? Are you really a mediator in that kind of situation? So there is more to mediation, where actually you are going to have discussions with the big corporation to make them understand. And I'm saying that heart soul spirituality aspect that I talk about, the human touch and all, it will apply even with your discussion with that big corporation and the people in that. You have to be able to get them to that kind of understanding from this person's perspective. Don't keep it as simple as, oh, you have so much to lose, do this. And that's the way it's happening. And that's the takeaway from mediation that people have. And that's when they go out and talk about it, and then no one wants to even, they don't look at mediation as a good thing. It just becomes something that's not justice. What is the justice in that? You had to settle because you did not have enough resources to take this whole thing through, because the cost that could have been put on you could be huge. Just the fact becomes a gamble. And I said that maybe then if you have to do that, might as well go to Las Vegas. Why are you in the court system? And I mean, it becomes a gamble then. And that's why he's settling. So I think even those cases, there is injustice happening in various things. We might not look at it in the same way, of course, in a genocide situation and that kind of thing, definitely. But I'm saying even for that small guy, for that small little guy who knows he has a claim which is legitimate and has to settle only because the big corporation is involved and he cannot afford to get those costs on his head. And a huge cost in the US. I mean, it's huge costs in relation to litigation. So I'm saying we have to look at it from the role of a mediator differently. You are not going to just keep it as simple, and that's the way mediation is going on. No, you have a role to play there. You have to make them understand that what you are doing is not the way to go, because if you see what the situation is, you can see what's happening there, and you can. So I'm saying that we have to look at it from all kinds of matters. So it's not really only looking at it from the way in the circumstance that Desmond Tutu was talking about. But the
Correct. And I totally agree.
the other thing that I want to tell you is that we have I don't know, we're going to be called a symposium or whatever it's going to be called. Let me see how the format is going to be. But on genocide and mediation, we're having something in January. So you have to participate in that.
That's a good one.
You can start your preparation now. I think we're going to start either we end on the 27th or start on the 27th of January. Around that, I'm going to make the schedule after this symposium, make the schedule for next year, but please participate in that. And now should I open the floodgates? Should I? Yes, Mandy, go.
No, wait a minute. Let me
wait,
tell you
wait, Mandy. Yeah.
Wait a minute, Mandy, because I think the floor is going to be all yours, It's just, but I think that a lot of what you was just discussing in regards to mediation being in the court system and what justice looks like, I think it can look, very unfair. I think that it just seems like it's just a cat and mouse type of game where, just go to mediation first, just see if you could settle, in mediation right now. It's just using a resource that it's a valuable resource, but it's just, I often feel like it's just for trend, just to say, we're in mediation. And that takes away the benefit of the tool of or the tool of conflict resolution. And I think that when people are told that, they don't really care about it. I think it takes away from, if someone says, just settle, just go ahead and get it over with, and you should just settle it in mediation. That way you don't have to go through court. The respect of the process is gone. The trust in the process is totally gone. And I think that that's not fair, to the mediator or to the mediation process. Right now, I started the process of, and I know it's going to be a situation where they're going to say, go through mediation, but I had an attorney And you're talking about a person of power, and this is the ultimate elephant on the mouse. Um, but I hired an attorney to handle my child, not child, what is it called? So many years ago, custody. So I would have full custody of my children. And this attorney, this older man, and I'm young, 20-year-old person, he came on to me and literally, as I'm trying to walk out the door, I should say, the door was closed. After he and I were done our conference, tried to kiss me and literally put his body on mine, and very gross. His tongue was hanging out his mouth and everything. And I got rid of him and went to another lawyer. But this lawyer, to this day, he just recently served me. He's trying to get money from me, for something that he retaliated, I should say, because I rejected him. Long story short, I put in a grievance. This is a power situation where he's this attorney. He knows right from wrong. He has rules that he is supposed to abide by, but he manipulated and took advantage of a young person. You see, it's a power imbalance. Now, in my mind, I guess it could be the fear. Now, this is when I think of myself as that person. When I go into mediations, I look at the person who is considered, that mouse, the one without the power. And in this situation, that's what I am. It doesn't matter the strength that I have now or all of that. I'm the mouse right now in that situation. So if I was to walk into a mediation, I don't believe that they're going to have my side. I don't believe and I'm just saying this from my own personal perspective, and that's with me knowing about mediation and being a mediator. So then if I feel that way, then I think about what do the other people, that I'm sitting across from, what do they feel? Because they have the same pain inside of them that I have inside of me, with this situation right now. It's no different. Pain is pain. We're not going to sit here and put pain on a scale and say yours is worse than mine. Pain is pain. And so when I think about empathy, I'm very big on this because I'm telling you, I just work towards putting myself in everybody's shoes. And if I'm neutral, then I feel like I'm able to be fair. If I walk into mediation with this man who I know in society's eyes has the power, and I walk into and see a mediator, I'm looking for him or her to look at me as a person and look at him as a person, instead of looking at our statuses, looking at me as this Black woman and looking at him as this powerful attorney. I don't want that. I want neutrality. So that's why I think that I'm more focused on, being neutral, because I want to give what I want in mediation as well. I try to look at other people's feelings, and I use mine to assist me. I hope that makes sense.
Well, I understand that, but I still feel that there is I was asking about mediation as such, how you look. I mean, you were saying that there is a certain concept of mediation that you see, and in that kind of a process, this is the way you would want someone to act. But that's the way mediation looked at. I'm looking at mediation itself differently. That's what I'm trying to say, that we have to look at mediation and the role of mediators itself. We have to look at that, and based on that is where I want this discussion to go. Because there is a certain mediation which is spoken of as mediation. Is it really mediation by itself? We have to question that also. So then we go from there. So I think that's why I was saying that these words itself, what do you understand from the word mediation? I think that's what I think some discussions I did take it up, but largely we go with the same thing, that, okay, people understand what mediation is. Let's look at neutrality. But I said, do people really understand mediation? I mean, is it the mediation that we would want to be mediation? Or is it just a word there that is used to a certain process? Is that really? Right. So I think we have to question that itself. And that's when you start with that, and then you build up on what you would want the mediator to be. And then what you are looking at as neutrality might not be what you might look at if the process itself is structured differently. So
Correct.
I think
I agree with you with that. I agree.
you do not agree with me.
Mandy?
Anything else?
I agree with you on a lot of things, a lot, more than you know.
Okay, perfect. So now should we open the floodgates? Okay, Mandy,
Mandy.
please go. Yes, Mandy. Please, you have to be quick on the draw. You have to have the unmute right there.
No, I'm not anxious because I'm enjoying very much listening to you, and I'm practicing neutrality. No, not to interfere, to observe, to listen. It's very nice. If you don't have the anxious that you have a role to be something, it's very nice and maybe very helpful for mediating also. It's very nice. It was very nice. All these beautiful things you said, and though I feel very, very close to your opinions, and Vikram says many things that you said are very close to my opinions. It's very nice to hear it from you, because you know you feel that you have ideas that are shared. It's very nice. I liked very much that thing you said about I'm not the elephant, neither the mouse. I'm not the elephant and I'm not the mouse. That's very nice, and I agree very much. And I'm a mediator. That's what you said. I like that very much. And isn't it and you said I have my opinion, but who am I to have the opinion for the other's problem? And isn't it, I wanted to ask you, is it humility you were talking about when you were saying these things?
Yes.
The humility of the mediator.
Yes, it is humility that I'm talking about.
And is it easy for you to humiliate yourself when there is a difference between people, and you see gender or race difficulties? Is it easy for you not to stand up for the rights of your race or for the rights of our gender, which is not equal in this world? Is it, how difficult is it?
How difficult is it during mediation
Be
for
neutral,
me?
to be neutral and to have humility, and not to have the need to help and be assistant.
I'm not going to say it's especially when I'm listening to words that can be damaging and it's harmful. It's not the easiest thing, no. But I look towards the future and I examine the process. I think I examine it more under those type of circumstances, because that motivates me even more to come to a solution. So it's those type of things, you know, like I hate it when people say, this is hard conversations and we're talking about, you know, race or gender equality. They consider those things hard conversations. I look at it as conversations that need to be had. What makes it so hard? You know, where is there, you know, difficulty there? And when I am challenged with those type of situations, my goal is to even more find a resolution. It drives me even more. I find reward in changing the mindset of a person who is an oppressor. You know, that's more beneficial to me than anything, because I'm a Black woman first. I'm a Black mother first with 2 Black sons. You know, I'm all of these things first. And if I cannot stand up for things that are personal to me, then for me, that makes me less than. that makes me not significant to myself.
It's
So
a
I do.
cure. It's a cure, isn't it?
Yeah.
A cure
Yeah.
procedure it is.
It's kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar, Vikram, you're familiar with the Holocaust and how survivors would come out and they would discuss, they find healing in talking to the people who are Nazis, and it's this one lady, she's passed, but it was a doctor, his name is Mengele, I can't, it's Mengele, something like that. But he did a lot of experiments on the Jewish people that would come in to, I think, I'm not sure if it was Auschwitz, but he did a lot of damage. And it was this one lady named Eva Noor, last name spelled Kor. She was a twin, and her twin ended up dying, but she did things for healing, in order to help. It was self-healing, but she wanted to help and learn from this doctor who participated in torture and bad treatment to them just because they were Jews. And she found healing in that. She was motivated to work with him and work with other people to change their mindset. She wanted to teach them about it and just was there. But when she was challenged to meet with people from, I believe it was Palestine, and they felt as though her religion were their oppressors. They felt like her people did something wrong. She was weakened, and she did not have that same energy and or motivation from my perspective. So when I looked at that, I said to myself, I didn't want to be like that. Whereas I have motivation and change regardless if someone looks at me as if I am the oppressor. If I'm trying to help somebody who is being oppressed, I get energized because of it. My goal is to change the mindset. And if you're a person that thinks about changing the mindsets of all people who think in that negative way, it becomes fun to me. I've done something successful and I'm doing what God wants me to do. That is what motivates me.
Yeah, Michelle, dear Michelle, because while I hear you, I am thinking that racism is one of the greatest problems for peace. And I was wondering how can you overcome the victim may find cure in understanding the other side, but the racist, how can you make him go closer to the victim? I mean, of course, there is fear behind racism, but how can you make a racist come? How can you do
Empathy.
that?
You have to bring people to you. If a person is taught that you are less than, if this is their culture, these are things that they have been taught. Let's just say, a child has been groomed to be a hater of Black women or women, because we have, different areas,
gender
women are
racism,
treated.
of course.
Yes. These are the children can be taught and groomed. In order for me, when I'm trying to work towards empathy, I have to bring that person down to me. And when I say down, because they already look at look at me as a lower person already. It doesn't matter that I think I'm here. They see me here. So I have to bring them down to here so they could see me as a human. So they could see that I am just like them. It is no difference. And it doesn't happen, right away. It is a process. And it's not the easiest thing. And I'm not going to say that every single time it can be successful. But if you are able to have them see just in a little bit that you are human also, like Hitler, it was a process. You know, he didn't just start off with, you know, let's just kill the Jewish people. No, it was years of grooming, stages that he went through, dehumanizing people so they could, so the Jewish community could be looked at like they're less than animals. The Black people have been demonized to be animals. Black people mean nothing because they don't feel anything, they don't hurt, because they have put Black people on a scale of like an animal. And it's not fair. So what do we got to do? You know, we have to make them understand through empathy. It's hard.
Very
I
hard.
think basic thing is that because they are going to do it all the time in India. When the colonizer was here, they had boards which says Indians and dogs not allowed. So that's what they will
See,
do. That's what they will do. When you say
they
they
put you
will,
on the level.
yeah. So that's how they will do it, and that's what the whole concept of being able to, I mean, understand that mindset itself. How does that happen? How do you do that to a human being? Okay. That's another discussion. We
If
have to
their
have the.
mind was trained to dislike, then their mind can be retrained. You know, the mind is the most powerful thing, and I'm just a believer in that.
These are things left to you people to do the larger good in society. For me, just dispute resolution. Just give me that little job to do. Everything else, there's a lot of work that you have to do. So I think
Practice and mediation is very interesting, dear Vikram, to discuss it, because there are many, many kinds of racism. It's very, very difficult.
my challenge is that with this whole medieval mediation circle and all that I'm creating, I have to make sure that those kind of people don't come in there and vilify the atmosphere. And that's some people, I have to keep them away. They come, I see, I gauge, and I then they go away because this, like, I mean, I quote Andrea when she says, "You've created a safe space," and to keep it a safe space, I have to do a lot on the other side, who comes into that space, because I
Right.
think so. That's my challenge, which I have to do. I might not be the most liked person around for that, but I don't want to be liked.
Oh goodness. I think you're liked.
I don't know, but I said even if I'm not this, I may going to make sure that my space is a safe space, like, for sure.
You know, you have to work with people and their differences. You know, it's literally one person at a time. They may not fit into your circle at this moment. They can listen and learn from the outside.
Exactly. That is the entire activity is that within the circle, when good conversations happen, people are doing good around them and everything. Then when you see it from the outside and say, "Oh, this can happen," then
Yeah.
they'll come in with the right attitude. Right now, it's something which people will answer. They don't even know what's really how it's going to go, what's going to happen, and vilifying an atmosphere. There are a lot of people to do that, and patronizing. One thing that I hate is people who patronize. I mean, I just don't like that at all. I mean, really, that is what it is. It's treating people like animals. It's like I'm talking to a dog kind of thing. And that's the way they talk about. That's the supremacy concept that I talk about. Be it color, be it language, be it nationality, could be anything. I mean, qualifications, people have that supremacy kind of thing. And then they talk to people in that very patronizing thing. I hate that part, and I keep those people away. This is just not right. The way they talk, that is exactly what it is. Talking like you think that you're talking to an animal, it's a lesser human being. What? You, for what reason?
Correct.
Just because you have a certain color or a nationality or a certain language or a qualification. What else? I don't know. You can add to that. There can be all kinds.
All
But
of the above.
so that's something that I cannot handle. I mean, for what reason would you do that? That's why I'm saying that here the circle is humble people with humility, and of course no supremacy of any kind, to be able to deal with people in a certain way. That's the kind of people, and that's the kind of mediators that you need. I mean, that's then this aspect of what I'm talking about, neutrality, will take a different meaning altogether as we go
Mhm.
along. So at this point, is it all right? If you can, of course, Michelle, concluding remarks for sure. Mandy has given her. It's like someone at the end of it. Mandy goes through. Okay, I like what you said. I did this. Okay, so done. Your rating is done now. So Michelle, closing remarks.
Mandy, you did great, and I thank you for your questions. They're important, and I think that you gave a woman's perspective. I think that you could understand, some of the things that I was trying to convey. But I
You did
think
it in
that
an excellent way. You did it in an excellent way. It was
thank
very
you. But I think that the most important thing that I am going to take away from this is an understanding of the word neutrality, the different, whether it's the adjective version or the noun version. And I think that mediation and neutrality it depends on the type of situation that you're in and the type of mediation. We have all of these different mediation. I'm not talking about mediation styles, not the, transformative and valued. I'm talking about the types of mediations that we're in. And I think that that they require, and the different people, everybody requires different treatment. And when I say treatment, it's still, equal, but I'm saying that we have to adjust to each person, in every mediation. And so from this, I am going to analyze and pay attention a lot more, not a little more, but a lot more, especially like now I'm about to go into eviction mediation. And so that's going to be something new. That's a different type of mediation that I have not really participated in. So it's going to be interesting for me to learn, and I'm going to take this conversation in with me in that type of mediation, and I hope that it's going to make me a better problem solver.
All I want,
thank
Michelle,
you.
is all I want is that just take yourself, your authentic self. Everything will happen around it. Nothing else. You don't have to even think of any theory or anything. You as the person you are, that's all that is required in that space. Everything else will fall around it. That's it.
Yeah,
That's all it's all about. The authentic self. Trust will come with it. Not an issue.
yeah, that's right. Trust comes with it.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Michelle. Please drop in tomorrow for Ken's session. What we're going to do is we're going to start a little earlier. Just a little discussion on learnings and key takeaways. What I'm going to do is let's put it out maybe 1 hour before or only half an hour before. I have to decide that. What do you think? Half an hour is good enough to just have a
Half an hour,
discussion?
I think, is good enough.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll start at 10 o'clock India time. Just have a little discussion maybe. But the only thing is
It'll be 10 a.m. my time.
no. It's 10 p.m. India time, and it'll be 9. It'll be for you. It'll be 8:30 p.m.
Oh yeah, I could do
a.m.
that.
8:30 a.m.
8:30 p.m. Yeah, yeah.
8:30 a.m.
That's
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll be there. I could
Perfect.
do that.
But what do we do about Mandy? For learnings and key takeaways, half an hour we have to keep for her separately because she starts.
I would love to hear.
No, I
I would
have
love
the
to hear.
no, I have the mute control. Not a problem. That option I always have. so thank you, man. I mean, Michelle and Mandy both. Thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow then. Yes.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure
Nice
speaking to you.
seeing you.
Always a pleasure speaking to you.